I'm Celia Wolf-Devine. I'm a retired philosophy teacher. I've taught philosophy of sex and gender for 15 years. At the Judiciary Committee hearings in the House, a number of experts testified that no study has found children of lesbian or gay parents to be disadvantaged in any significant respect relative to children of heterosexual parents, citing as their authority a brief issued by the American Psychological Association in 2005. This just is not true, okay? And I'm going to give some reasons why that's not true. This brief was a radical break with all the scholars that had studied family for a long time, and there's good reason to think it was the result of political pressure. The research basis on which the brief was relied was seriously flawed methodologically. The studies often involved very small samples, too small to be statistically significant. The respondents were volunteers. They were recruited through various gay and lesbian activist networks, and various other reasons why the samples were biased I could go into if I had time. Secondly, the subsequent carefully designed research has found clear evidence that children brought up by same-sex parents in fact do less well. Last June, Mark Regnerus of the University of Texas published the findings of the New Family Structure Study and Social Science Research. They sampled 15,000 young adults, and I think it's really important that they were dealing with people who were 18 to 39. These were people who had life experience and a perspective on their upbringing. And those who had been parented by same couples were more apt to report being unemployed, less healthy, more depressed, more likely to have cheated on a spouse or a partner, smoked more pot, had trouble with the law, report more male and female sex partners, more sexual victimization, and were more likely to reflect negatively on their childhood family life than respondents from intact biological families. Now, there was a violent reaction against Regnerus. Now, I've read his essay, and he's very conscientious, he's scholarly, he's charitable, calm tone. Well, people just went ballistic, tried to get him fired, attacked him savagely, this, I think, is really, really troubling. This is not a political get-out-the-fisticuffs issue. We're talking about the good of children. Heterosexual pair bonding unites two lineages into a network, a safety net for the vulnerable. No known society, even those that are permissive toward homosexuality, has ever regarded same-sex relationships as marriages. If, in fact, the intact biological family is best for children, as the evidence indicates, then the state has an interest in encouraging it. It has no interest in encouraging the stability of stabilizing or encouraging same-sex relationships. This is not a partisan issue. It's an issue of what's good for children. And I'd say, in a more positive vein here, children have a right to the care of both of their parents. A heterosexual family has been found, on average, on the whole, they're not perfect, nobody's perfect, but it's been found to be generally better for children. And I want to emphasize this, I'm not judging any individuals who may be in whatever kind of relationships they're in. People do their best a lot, whatever their circumstances, but structurally, something is missing. By not having a mother and a father. A French expert in humanitarian law who was raised by a lesbian couple recently told newspapers that he had suffered daily from the absence of a father to provide a masculine example and provide a counterweight to the relationship between his mother and her lover. He experienced his lack of a father as he, quote, an amputation, and violently opposed same-sex marriage as institutionalizing a situation that had deeply scarred him. Now, same-sex couples now raising children are increasingly resorting to surrogacy or insemination, thereby deliberately depriving their children of the parent of the opposite sex. And I just have a few quotes here from lesbian and gay parenting books that I think are very, very telling. So listen carefully. One book says, some children of gay and lesbian couples do express an intense longing for the other biological parent, talking about it frequently and emotionally. It's also true that what is unimportant today may surface tomorrow with urgency. A book on lesbian parenting admits it is very normal for children to ask about and long for a father. We encourage you to hang in there when your child works through her grief. They encourage father fantasies. Okay, in conclusion, I want to point to the statue on the top of this Capitol building. What is this statue? The independent man. The argument that everyone else, especially these enlightened people in Massachusetts, is legalizing same-sex marriage, therefore we should too, is a terrible argument. The Rhode Island tradition is to think for ourselves, and Roger Williams fled from Massachusetts to be able to think for himself. So let's not cave in and let them tell us what to think. Show a little backbone. We have a responsibility to think through important issues carefully, because a decision to radically change the institution of marriage will have far-reaching consequences for people yet unborn. And you as legislators have a special responsibility to represent your constituents' preferences as well. Voters generally do not favor same-sex marriage, especially when they discover the widespread consequences, wide-reaching, far-reaching consequences, as we've just heard from our other speaker, of this sort of legislation. The opposition to it is very widespread at a grassroots level and very passionate. And riding roughshods over voters' deeply held convictions undermines democracy, deepens people's alienation from the government, fuels already dangerous level of anger in our society. Bitter polarization has already mounted to a level where it undermines the government's ability to accomplish any of the good things that we would like to do. So let's not worsen it.
Are there any questions or comments for this witness? Thank you. Senator Archibald.
Just a quick comment, and I'm thinking about a situation I had as a defense attorney where I got a call to represent a juvenile who was arrested for something, and I prosecute and was a cop, but I do defense work, and the parents were gay. I didn't know when I first got the call when they showed up to my office, but that case stayed in family court for 6 months. They came to every hearing, extremely involved, called me outside of the courtroom to make sure, because juvenile system's all about rehabilitation as opposed to the adult system is more about retribution, punitive. And they were so proactively involved in this young man's recovery, and he was challenging, he was problematic. They adopted him, and I can't for a minute believe that the difference in gender is going to affect the upbringing of the child. To me, ma'am, it would be the unconditional love that the child receives. I lost my father at a young age, but he gave me tons of unconditional love, and my mother. And it didn't stop me from trying pot, but I'll tell you, I certainly kept my head focused, and it was that unconditional love that carried me and still carries me today. So I can't for a minute believe that gender is going to affect the upbringing of a child. I have nowhere I can search in my own history or even through my own representation of individuals. I've represented other gay clients since then. I can't for a minute think of a situation where I can justify or substantiate that.
Okay, well, the French person that I quoted referred to two things. He said he did not have an active model, a role model of how to be a man. And I've really noticed this. It was really striking. My little nephew was like, maybe, he was in a high chair, I think, and he was looking around the table, and his eyes would rest on the males, and he would start imitating them. I mean, it's very important for a child to have a good male role model for a boy, if he's learning how to be a boy. And also, I really think, and I've seen this again and again, women's love can be kind of smother love, and a father provides a balance so that it gives a space for the child to having that sort of balance between the father and the mother. Frees up a space that's, I think, really important to a child. I don't know if that answers your question,
Well,
but
no,
I'm all for unconditional love, and people really do love their kids and do the best they can. It's a structural problem in a deep way, I think.
Well, just briefly, I disagree. I don't think it's structural at all, and I think that you'll seek out that mentoring. I certainly did. I still seek it out to this day. There are many that mentor me. I'm always learning, make mistakes every day, learn every day, and I seek mentors, older, younger. That 12-year-old boy was a mentor to me. I'm not half as articulate as he is right now. So you'll seek these people out, and I don't see that when you're in a relationship that's gender-based, that two women or two men, how you're losing out on. But I do agree with you. You need some influence in your life. If you're a young boy, you're going to seek male influence, but you'll find it. You'll seek it out.
The damage can be mitigated, certainly, and people try to.
Sure.
Thank you.